Hey guys, what is up? It is RC Knockout and I am back with another video. If you're a more recent subscriber or you're just recently tuning into my channel and you're not familiar with these two machines, I'll go ahead and give you a real quick rundown. This one right here, this one I'd say is kind of my pride and joy. This is the one gas powered, like if I could only keep one of my gas powered, so if I could only keep my Losi 5T, this Hpi Baja 5T, or my Hpi Baja 5B, this would be the one I'd keep. Because this one I built from scratch, so I started off with nothing but the chassis. It's built with a lot of upgraded parts. This one's very heavy because almost everything is aluminum on it. This was like an aluminum build, but I do still rip this one and bash it sometimes. But I painted up a nice body black. This is more of a trophy truck, but it's not a true trophy truck design because it doesn't have a true like trailing arm rear suspension. It doesn't have a solid rear axle. It's independent rear, independent front, so it's not actually a trophy truck, but that's what they're obviously basing it after, as a trophy truck. And I cut the windshield out so I'd have easy access into the cage if I need to do anything. But yeah, this one has a ton of upgrades. So I started off with this Lighten chassis. Can't remember the brand, but I bought a lot of this stuff off of DDM, which is Dave's Discount Motors, and they specialize in 1/5 scale stuff. Put aluminum bell crank. I think I have a Turtle Racing bell crank in this one. Trying to think, I think that's just my Losi 5T servo for the steering servo. Unless that's a high-tech one, I can't actually read it. I can't remember what I have in it, but the servo works fine. I've got a Savox servo running my my braking and throttle. Special thing about this one is Bajas come stock with only rear brakes. So normally it would just have this linkage right here that would go back to this little plunger piece right here. This little flapper, I don't know what you call it. I have a carbon fiber rotor on this one, and I have brass pads, but it would basically clamp those pads against that rotor when you pull on this, when the linkage gets pulled on. So that's basically how that works, if you're wondering how the rear braking system works mechanically. But this one, it just is so bad with the rear braking, so I went ahead and I put mechanical brakes on the front of this. So this has actual disc brakes on the front, actual like carbon fiber rotors. But they're mechanically driven. They're not like hydraulic or anything. So it's kind of difficult to get it tuned properly where it's like balanced. So like it actually breaks balance between the front, both sides of the front and the rear. But I think I have it set up pretty good. So yeah, you just got to do a bunch of tuning to get it just right where it pulls on both the cables. It's basically like the brakes on your bike, except for you have two going to both the front ones. And if you want the thing to stop straight, you need to get the same amount of tension on both of these cables, so it puts the same amount of pressure on both these front ones. Otherwise, the thing's going to veer to one side. And that happens pretty easily if they get out of whack. Also, the power plant in this one, I've got an OBR Full Mod Zenoa. So this is a upgraded motor, of course. OBR is O'Neill Brothers Racing, if you're not familiar with it. They do a lot of stuff modifying motors. And this one actually has about 7.5 horsepower. I want to say a stock Baja probably only has like 3 to 4, maybe. 3 to 4 horsepower. This one has 7.5, which is a lot. And I have a DDM Dominator pipe with a silencer hooked onto the back. That's actually the same exhaust I have on that Baja as well. And like I was saying, basically this entire machine is made out of aluminum. So I have aluminum suspension arms. I believe these are Integy. I kind of went with the orange anodized theme. Front bulkhead, that's a different brand. Unfortunately, that orange doesn't quite match. It's more of like a torch red orange. So the orange is kind of clash because it's not all the same brand, but the whole front bulkhead is aluminum. That front upper brace, the silver piece, that's aluminum. All this stuff would normally be, well, the upper brace would normally be like a thin piece of like cast aluminum. But the whole front bulkhead would normally be plastic. I decided to swap it over to aluminum, and actually I think that's kind of a good upgrade because I've broken the front bulkhead on that one a couple times now. The plastic one, on big impacts, especially when I'm jumping this thing in the winter, they're kind of susceptible to breaking either a suspension arm, shock shaft, or the bulkhead. And the bulkhead's kind of annoying to work on with these machines because everything's held together with these little C-clips or E-clips, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, I got sway bars on this one, sway bars on the front. I think I have the sway bar disconnected on the back right now because I have to take the exhaust off to get it hooked back up. But this one also has, I believe these are Innovative RC. I think that's the brand. Big bore shocks. They're huge shocks. Just check out the diameter of those shock shafts. They're huge. Those have got to be like 7 or 8 mil shock shafts. They've got to be double the thickness of the shafts on that Baja over there that's running the stock shocks. Also, I can't remember brands on all this, guys, but black aluminum upper part for the shock mounts. I already told you about the chassis. The rear part, upper chassis plate, that's aluminum. Turtle Racing brake, guess that'd be like the brake pedestal or the brake, I don't know what this piece is actually called, but everything, basically all the motor mounts and everything have been swapped over to aluminum. The bottom plate, which is just typically a thin piece of cast aluminum that's orange, I have swapped out to a much thicker, like, silver one. I think this is like a 6 millimeter, 5 or 6 millimeter compared to like the stock one being 3 or 4. So about double the thickness. Also got this rear brace for like the cage. Oh, the upper shock mounts on the back, that's also the only piece I retained that's stock. This right here is actually the stock like brace for the two shocks, for the two shock mounts on the back. I haven't had any problem. This is like cast, I think this is cast steel. I don't think this is aluminum, but I haven't had any issues with this so far, so I decided to keep this one on. If I have issues, then I will. But I don't jump this one super high, but if I do have issues, then I'll swap it out. So I basically just wanted to get rid of as much of the plastic as I could. Also, I have Integy drive shafts, which are huge drive shafts on this machine, because I was breaking the stock ones left and right. This has, I can't remember what the brand is, but it's got a metal transmission in it. And TGN air filter with a cover, outerwears cover. And then I guess the other big thing you'll notice is this Team Chase cage. So it doesn't normally come with this cage. Normally it would just have like a cage like that, and then the body would mount over, like it would still have these side skirts right here. It'd still have these pieces, and the body would mount on the sides, but it wouldn't have this whole cage right here. So I decided to get that. That helps protect it in rollovers, and this is a really nice flexible cage. As you can see, made in America. And the wheels and tires, I'm running Proline trenchers on the front and the back, and they are mounted on some split 6 Proline beadlock wheels. They are true beadlock, a plastic beadlock wheel. And I don't think there's anything else to say about this one. I think these are IRP links. I can't remember what the brand of these links are. But, oh, and I also, the other thing I totally forgot, I have got I think it's actually authentic HPI slipper clutch, because normally these do not come with a slipper clutch. Normally they just have some little dampeners within the spur gear that kind of work like a cush drive, and it basically absorbs a little bit of that shock that might go through the drivetrain. But that does not do a very good job. So I decided to switch, especially with how heavy this machine is. I was breaking drive shafts pretty easily when I came down with the power on. I break drive shafts pretty easily, so I decided to go ahead and put an actual slipper clutch in this, which has worked flawlessly. I think that's like $180 or $200 option, and you can buy that from HPI, and that works really well. I'm happy with that, and that came with a new spur gear and everything. I can't remember the gearing. I think it's a stock gearing, whatever stock is for a Baja. And that's everything with this one, guys. Now, speaking of this one real quick, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but if you guys haven't seen these machines, trying to take you through it real quick. This one basically, HPI Baja 5B, if you swapped all the stuff over, you could turn a 5T into a 5B. So you strip all this down, they have the same chassis and everything. So basically this is the buggy version. This one is much closer to stock. It's running a stock HPI channel chassis. I think, yeah, the bulkheads, everything, all the plastics are the stock arms and everything. It's got the stock shocks. And remember how I was talking about the thickness of those shock shafts? Look how thin those are. So that right there, I want to put my finger down here. I'd say it's about half as wide as my finger, those shock shafts, as my pinky. Here's these shock shafts. These shock shafts are about 3/4 probably the size of my pinky. So they're a much larger shock shaft. I've never broken the shock shaft on this one, by the way. I have on this one quite a few times. And I also have threshold umbrella seals inside of these shocks, because these shocks right here are notorious for leaking the fluid out. So that helps keep the fluid in. This one I'm running a high-tech throttle and brake servo. Now, another thing to mention, the Bajas, I might have already mentioned this with this one, but the Bajas don't come with front brakes. I had to put those mechanical brakes on the front. They normally just come with a rear braking system. Also, this one has got, I think, the same brand of transmission in this one. It's like an aluminum case. It's running the same DDM Dominator pipe with a silencer. The motor is different. This is more powerful than the stock motor. This is a 29cc Dynamite motor. that came out of my Losi 5T actually, because I swapped the one in my Losi 5T also to an OBR one. So I had this one sitting around, and this one had more power than the stock 26cc that normally comes in these. And actually, like the older versions, I think only came stock with 23cc. So this has quite a bit more power than stock. This one's running stock gearing. This one still has like the dampening system, but I do have like a heavy duty, because normally these do not have metal spur gears. Surprisingly enough, with a machine this big, the Baja spur gears are plastic. But I got rid of that because I've chewed up quite a few, so I went ahead and I put a heavy duty steel one in that still had the dampers, and haven't had that many issues. This one has got, I think these are authentic HPI shafts, but these are the thicker ones, because this had the older version, which were a thinner diameter, and those ones broke pretty easily. This one also has sway bars on the front and the back. I'm running, I think, the exact same, I'm running LiPo pack, a 4,000 milliamp LiPo pack in the receiver box on both of these machines, because normally it would come with a nickel metal hydride, like a hump pack that fits in there, but decided to ditch that. This one has got some type of filter, I don't know what filter that is, and a pre-filter on it. And oh, this one's running Hostile Nightmare tires. So these ones are kind of like an MX type tire, and they are mounted on some HPI beadlock wheels. So that is nice. And yeah, I think that's all that's going on with this one, guys. This one right here is much louder. This one, I don't know why. It must just be because of the OBR motor, because they have the exact same exhaust pipe with a silencer built in. But for some reason, this one's much quieter than this one. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Later.